We go live now. Every conversation, please type in the chat box.
So please, is it 93 that we used to go
We
live?
are live.
But I can't see it. I can't see the live link. Okay. All right, are we live now?
We've been live for a few minutes now.
Okay. All right then. So, hi everyone. There's nobody here, but can we share the link, please? Let's share the link. But just in case if someone clicks on, let's start. Hi everyone. Welcome to in fact, we need to do this. Okay, cuts. Let's start all over. Hi everyone. Welcome to 1MMC's maiden edition of live.
All over again.
It's fine. It's bloopers, isn't it? I mean, it's our first edition, so it's okay. So guys, I'm hyped. I'm so excited. We and the crew. I'm gonna allow everyone, introduce themselves and say hello. But yes, this is our maiden edition. So excited. We almost didn't come on live today, but I mean, you can't wait for perfection to start. So we're just starting, and yeah, please bear with us. We'll get better as we go on. But for today, we've got all of your favorites 1MMC crew in the house. We've got well-meaning Nigeria. Okay, anyway, let you guys introduce yourselves, okay? Introduce yourselves.
Okay, I know it might be rowdy, but this is well-meaning Nigerian, so you guys know me already.
All right, Kandake. Kandake, can you say something?
Everyone is Kandake. Welcome to the live stream.
All right. Hello, woman leader. Can you say something?
Hi, everyone. This is Lamin. Welcome to our first edition of our 1MC live stream.
All right. If you're here, guys, please share the link. Please keep sharing. All right. NG, Her Excellency herself. Go ahead.
Thanks, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. Thank you.
And this is Tony. I welcome you all to the maiden edition of the 1 Million Man crew. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy the show. Back to you, Nello. Thank you.
Our Leonard, our Leonard self. Oh God, what's the word now? Anyway, our Leonard. I would say Leonard colleague because I'm not a Leonard colleague, but lawyer in the house. Please introduce yourself. Where's our lawyer? UC Maxwell. Okay, UC Maxwell, please unmute your mic. Okay. UC is not available right now, probably struggling with network. For those of you that know UC, you already know. Okay, we don't have Magnific Dude and Waimi here yet. Oh, Anka Dede. Where's Anka Dede? Okay, Anka Dede is not here yet. All right, guys, we're going to start. We're going to start now. As the topic says, we're going to be discussing APC's written address, obviously. But before we go into the conversation, I'd like for us to, take a look at LP's ground, what they are asking for. And then, well-meaning Nigeria, you're going to do us the honors. Just a brief, summary of LP's ground. And then after that, we're going to move on to the response proper. All right, please go ahead, well-meaning.
All right, thank you very much, Nedo. So just quickly, I know a couple of people know about this already. So LP's petition is on 3 grounds, mainly 3 grounds. But although those grounds have like I don't know if you can call it sub grounds, but some other each case under it. The first ground is that the second respondent, who is Tinubu, was not qualified as at the time the election was conducted. And on that ground, there was the issue of the double nomination of his vice presidential candidate, Shetima, and the drug-related forfeiture in the US. So then the second ground is that there was, corrupt practices and INEC did not comply with their guideline. On that ground, there was the issue of INEC not transmitting results on election day. There was also the issue of the votes being, manipulated. The issue of people overvoting. What would eventually count as overvoting? People voting without being accredited. Then the third ground, which is almost kind of also tied to the second ground, is that Tinubu and Shetima were not voted. The words that the petition actually used for that ground is that they didn't, they were not voted incorrectly, if I would put it like that. But I just want to use the specific words that the petition used. So the words I used, that they were not duly elected by majority of lawful vote cast at the election. So that's where there's also the reference to 25% and again the vote casted. So those are the main 3 grounds for Peter Obi's petition.
All right. Thank you so much, well-meaning. UC Maxwell, are you able to speak now? UC Maxwell? Okay, well, it doesn't. UC? Oh, at last. UC, you need to go change this your network. Our maiden edition again. All right, over to you. Over to you, Maxwell. UC Maxwell, unmute your mic. Shy. I don't know what's in the happen, guys. But it's like Agbado people, they don't want our Leonard Silk to speak to us here today. That's all right. Anyway, we're just going to keep the conversation going. So guys, are you back? Okay, not yet. All right. So guys, like I said, this is our maiden edition. Please bear with us. You say you might want to leave and then come back in, because I don't know, we've been having conversations all this while and you've been great. I don't know why, you're having issues right now, but it's all right. So guys, we are going to be taking a look at the APC response. I'm sure some of you would have read it and you may have some questions. We're going to have a time for Q&A, but again, you can put your questions in the chat box and we will join you. And okay, let's quickly say hello to some people that are already here. We have Mavis Mary. Hi Mavis. We have Paul O. Thank you. Oh, Anka Dede, you say you're here, you can't find the mic. Okay, Anka Dede, can you speak now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. I've been struggling.
Hello,
okay. Everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Please share the space so we can have more people join us. It's a short run, so we can hear from our colleagues, legal luminaries, I call them, learned men and women. What's going on? We need to be on top of our message. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Well-meaning Nigeria, you have spoken.
Before you go,
oh, finally. Welcome,
Like
you
I
see.
don't know what's happening. It's not
The
network.
brand is back.
I am unmuting from the app, but the app is not unmuting. I don't know why. So I had to leave the conversation and join in again. But then, good evening to everybody. Of course, it's still me, your usual friend and brother, UC Maxwell. So it's a pleasure to be here once again. It's always good to diversify and bring you the best of what do I call it now? Is it reportage? Or do I call it the best of representation in this obedient movement? So it's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, everybody.
All right. Good evening. Good to have you. So, because this is a very short show, and we'd just like to keep it very short and simple, well-meaning, and you see and as well as every other person here, okay, who's had time to like really gone through the response. Can you tell us, I have questions, but before we go to the questions, can you just give us like a rundown of, basically their response? What are the things that, they are what are the arguments that they are putting forward? Can you shed more light on this? You see, you can start.
Okay, I thought that you would start with my boss, well-meaning. Well-meaning is my boss in the entirety of this thing. I koto to his poho.
Yeah,
Okay, it's just
you
very quick.
weren't here. You weren't here, but Well Meaning has already, laid down the
I
grounds for
had him.
the
I
peace
had him.
petition. Okay, all right.
Yes, I had him when he went. I have been listening in, only that I was unable to mute. So the beautiful thing is, we are at this point in time with this petition. It is actually a beautiful thing because it's been a marathon. We've been going through all of this. We saw the petition, well-meaning give a breakdown of the grounds for which we are there, the prayers and all. So after all of that, there was a need to tender documents in court, tender the documents, call witnesses to further your case. And you're aware that we called 13 witnesses to prove our case and tendered tons of documents. You're also aware that the first respondent, which is INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, I realize that when we say first respondent, second respondent, people get confused. So the first respondent is INEC, the second respondent is Tunubu, the third respondent is Shetima, and the fourth respondent is APC. However, in the PDP's case, Shetima is not a party. So the second respondent in their case is Tinubu, while the third respondent is the APC. So I would always refer to Tinubu when I want to refer to both Tinubu and Shetima, except where I want to be particular, because it is the same lawyers that are representing Tinubu that is also representing Shetima, and they are doing a joint work. So after taking all the evidences from them, they tendered some about 13 to 18 documents. INEC tendered some 8 documents or thereabout. Then they called one witness. We also saw the second and third respondent, Tinubu and Shetima. They also called one witness to prove their case. But for the APC, they didn't call any witness, they didn't tender any document, and they closed their case. The entire case was closed. So we had to move into the next phase, which is final written address. Like I've always said, the final written address is the final part of the hearing or the final part of the work by the lawyers before they await judgment from the court. So it is in the final written addresses that they further all their arguments that they have in relation to the case. It is in the final written arguments that they try to link their evidences with their witnesses, provisions of the law, and previous cases that have been held by the court. It is also in the final written address that you further solidify your stand and tell the court what you want the court to hold as in judgment in the case. So very 2 days ago, we got the document from the APC. That is, sorry, not the APC here, Tinubu and his counterpart. We saw their final written address. It is a 42-page document. That was not only the document which they filed. Recall that they had agreed to file a 10 pages argument of all the objections that they were raising to the case. And that, of course, they also did. They filed a 10-page document on their arguments in relation to the objections that they've raised so far in the petition or in the process of hearing. So going directly into the petition, I'm not even looking at it here. So my brother, can you please, what we planned, if you can actually put it out there, it would also be good for the people that may want to see it also. So within the confines of their document, their final written address, they were able to formulate 4 basic issues. Yes, they formulated 4 basic issues. Within these issues, I can't look at, I'm not looking at it now, but when it is up there, I will read them as they are. Probably if well-meaning already has it before him, then he will read it out, then we'll proceed. So within these 4 issues, for you to proceed with your final written address, you need to, sorry, please just.
All right. Thank you so much.
So,
You see.
sorry, yeah, let me round up very quickly
Okay.
before the document comes up.
Okay.
So, in these 4 issues, they've been able to further their arguments, and these are the arguments that will be taken. We've had some of them while we held our space the last time. So, we'll be taking questions here, answering all your questions as they relate to it. So, that's it. Thank you, Nello.
All right, thank you. Well-meaning, UC has highlighted that the in their response they highlighted 4 main issues. Please, can you shed more light on these 4 main issues, please? Thank you.
Okay, so for those that are viewing currently, I thought maybe just also didn't look at his phone immediately. I'd already we already have it up on the screen. So if you are viewing on YouTube, I'm sure you'll be seeing my screen, and you see what I have on the screen. So what we have here, it's called issue for determination. I think you see already talked about what's about, where they kind of reshaped what we gave as our grounds. So if you notice, I won't, for the sake of time, I won't go into details as to each of them, but you will notice what they usually state. They will say considering the evidence, basically. So the first issue for determination we have is whether, and if you, I don't know if you can see my where my cursor is, but if you can't, I'm sorry about that. But maybe I'll just use like a pointer so you can know where I'm saying. So like I have there, whether the election of the second respondent, who is in this case Tinubu, into the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on 25th February was not in substantial compliance with the principles and provision of the Electoral Act. And somewhere in the document, because each of these issues for determination was later talked about one by one, issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4. So that's the first issue. The first issue is dealing with substantial compliance with the principle and provision of the Electoral Act. The second issue that they talked about, which they made reference to different documents, is whether, so and I'm just highlighting where the main statement starts from, whether the second and third respondents were not or are not eminently qualified to contest the presidential election of 25th February. So basically, I'm saying the court has to determine, that's why they call it issue for determination, has to determine whether both Tinubu and Shettima were not qualified for that election. So basically, this has to do with the qualification. And if you notice, they will say in view, the statement starts with something like in view of the clear provisions of the Constitution, and making reference to the Supreme Court judgment between PDP. So that's to tell you, those are some of the things they rely on. But by the time they start talking about each of them separately, which maybe we may not go into today, but in the coming days in our spaces and maybe next week's edition of the show, probably we'll talk about it in details. Then the third issue for them to determine, I like where the weather starts from, is whether Tinubu has not satisfied the necessary constitutional and statutory requirement to be declared winner of the presidential election. This really has to do with 25%. It deals more with 25%. Why the last issue for determination, if you are still following my screen, is whether whether the court can accede to any of the belief being claimed by the petitioner. So basically, this when you read this in details, or when we talk about it in details, either now or if we can't, because this conversation is supposed to be 1 hour, in our subsequent spaces in the coming days. But this issue deals really with talking about results that were presented. This is where you see them talking about the fact that Peter Obi is contesting in states that they didn't win, right? And UC Maxwell have given some highlights of it in previous spaces, but we've also talked about it. But those are the foreground. So just to give it a summary, the first one has to do with compliance. The second one has to do with qualification, whether it's qualified. The third one has to do with whether it was properly declared as 25%. And the fourth one has to do with whether, the votes count really follows. So that's basically it.
All right. Thank you so much, well-meaning. That fourth one, I understood the one of non-compliance, the one of qualification, the issue, the one of law, that's 25%. But this last one, does it have to do with maybe declare counting of the results or something? I don't understand. Hello?
Maybe you should throw more light on it. So if you go to the fourth one, it is where they brought up the issue of the results itself that were submitted and started talking about the different states. I'll scroll to it why maybe you should talk more about it. So maybe that's me. For I don't know, depend. It formed in each part of the conversation before we round up. So Mr. Maxwell, I don't know if you want me to go there.
You see,
you can scroll to it so that I look at it, because I don't really have access to the document right here. So just scroll to the fourth issue which you are asking about, so we take a look at it very quickly.
So there you go. That's where it starts from.
Are you there?
yes, you see, he's there. Well-meaning, you might just want to go ahead. Maybe you see he's having issues with his network.
Okay. So if you notice what I talked about here, so in fact, the way they started was, they wanted to draw the court's attention to the fact that the petitioners were challenging states that that's APC now, didn't win, right? And they were talking about, I won't talk about the legal aspect of this much, maybe you should do that. But they were talking about the fact that, Peter Obi was challenging states like Lagos, Taraba, Plateau, states that PDP and, even NNPP won. And basically, and this is like the basic concept to it, they were saying, if you notice, this ground on the document they didn't say much about it, right? The inference they were trying to make here was that Peter Obi ought to have, that they were not going to defend results in places where they didn't win. Right now, from what I've heard UC talk about in space, which I think also makes sense, even legally, is that the concept is not on who won the state. The concept is on the number of votes. But the way they try to put it, and for those of us that have heard people analyze this document over time, you will know that we've analyzed it and we've said that they are trying to lay a little bit, not a little bit more, entirely. Now, if I say a little bit more, that will not be fair. They are trying to lay entirely on things that will come off, sound like technicalities, right? So on this part of the document, their point is that if you see this line, I'll try to just highlight it so that people can also follow, our listeners can follow. They said that the petitioners are challenging, starting from here, I'm reading from here now. The petitioners are challenging the election results in states like Lagos, Taraba, Plateau, where they won, right? So why also challenging states like Gombe, Katsina, Kaduna, Kano, Osun, Yobe, where PDP and NNPP won? You get? So the point they were trying to bring out from here was that, since they didn't win those states, they didn't have any reason to come and be defending it in court. But funny enough, Peter Obi, the contest is not really about who won the state. Because if they want to go by that, the contest is really about the number of votes that people had in the state. So, for example, Peter Obi may have won Lagos, but Peter Obi is saying the number of votes he had in that state is way more than what he was given, technically, right? Kwankwaso may have won Kano, but Peter Obi is saying I had more votes in Kano, right? And for APC to want to, or for the lawyers to want to lay it strictly on who won the state is funny, because these states are being contested not just based on who won the state. It's also based on 25%, right? So it's not really, we are not interested in who won the state. So you may not have won Kano, but we are saying that if you got 25% in Kano, let the court determine that you didn't really get 25% in Kano. So what they did when they got here was to play around it and try to lay claim and said that if Peter Obi wanted to contest those states, it should have included PDP and NNPP in the petition for those ones to come and defend those states. But Peter Obi is not talking about who won the state. He's just saying that the votes from this state doesn't count properly. So it's possible that by the time the court counts it, SDP might become the winner of the state. So it's not really about who won or who didn't win. And if you see me, I'm trying to scroll down because, of course, this time bound, we'll do the detailed talking on spaces. But they didn't really give, there was a place they literally said, and I wish I could, so they said, the point being made is that, and I'm reading from here, the point being made is that it will be against the fundamental right of the respondent, as well as the spirit of tenure and intention of the Electoral Act, to make the respondents, that's Tinubu now, to make the respondent defend whatever is assumed to be wrong with the election in states where they did not win. So why this is fun is that if they say they don't want to defend those states because they didn't win it, does it mean that they'll be willing to embrace whatever the court determines? Because by the time the court determines what happened there, they might no longer have 25%. So if you're not willing to defend it because you didn't win it, does it mean you're also not willing to defend it when you know that will affect your 25% that you claim you had? So that's basically what that fourth ground is about. They didn't really talk about it in details. They just went on and on trying to say it doesn't really have anything to do with them entirely, especially in states where they didn't win.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, the truth is that APC, they are clever by half, because the fact is, like in a state like Lagos now, where they somehow managed to rig themselves into like 500k votes, if you're challenged, you cannot say because you didn't win it, therefore you didn't rig. You can rig your way into 25%, and that's what's being challenged. So again, it all boils down to them always trying to be smart by half. UC, are you back now? UC Maxwell. You see, your fans are here, or they are packed here. Yes, this discussion is live. Someone is asking. Please drop your questions. Feel free to drop your questions, because we will soon be going into the question and answer series, and we would answer your questions live. Okay. If anyone has any question here, you can unmute your mic and ask. And if we have an answer, we would, Well-meaning is here. I don't know what's wrong with UC's network, but Well-meaning is here and he should be able to help. Well-meaning, when I was okay, UC, are you here and are you back now?
Yes, I am.
All right, great. Did you want to add anything to what Well-meaning said? Did you listen to his conversation?
Yes, I listened. I'll just make some comments. Now, to be fair to them, they may decide not to defend what went wrong with the election, whether it is where they won or where they lost, because they are not the organizers of the election. It is INEC who organized the election, and INEC have the authority to defend an election that they conducted, if they conducted it in the style that is required by the law. But an area where they needed to respond to is issues that concern them. That is why each and every one of them are parties to the suit, because there are issues that concern them, which relates to the candidacy, which relates to double nomination, and every other aspect there. But for them to be saying that they are not going to respond because they didn't win there, it is just, I don't know, it is a lame response to say. If you are not going to respond because you did not organize the election, there's no problem. If INEC decides not to also respond, the court will rule on only the arguments of the petitioners who have argued with what happened in that place. So whether they won or not, they were candidates in the election, they were a party in the election, and they needed to respond on all issues because they were also part of the election. So that's just what I'm going to add to that point.
And let me quickly put it on record that everything I said just now I heard from UC. So the credit really goes to UC.
All right, thank you. And you also read the stuff yourself, because anyway, you see what you have said, it makes a whole lot of points because if they are saying, well, we cannot defend where we did not win, but when you really look at it, even in the places where you are defending the votes that you got, the petitioner is saying that you did not, that the votes that you got is not lawful. So they are not petitioning you based on you won this state, so come and defend it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is our councils are going to, give their own address, because I feel like they are trying to turn this whole thing on its head, and it's not making any sense, at all to me. But
Just to add, Nelly, I don't know if well-meaning mentioned while he was speaking, probably when I was trying to reconnect, that they are also contesting about, is it 19,000 votes from the same Kano state? I don't know if well-meaning mentioned that. So
No, I didn't.
if
Go
you
ahead.
recall why they were tendering evidences before the court, remember that they tendered a document showing that about 10,000 or 19,000, I'm not so sure, votes were shortened or was reduced from their own votes. So if you say you don't want to contest a vote, or you don't want to respond or lay defense in a particular place where you did not, and another thing that they try to say there is the fact that the petitioners did not join the party that won Kano State. They didn't join the party that won Adamawa State, and they are contesting those states. The party that won Adamawa State is PDP and Atiku. The party that won Kano State is NNPP and Kwankwaso. So they were saying that the petitioners did not even join these people, and they are contesting the election in those states where these people won. I'm now asking them, on the same basis, on the same foundation, on the same grounds for which they made that argument. Kwankwaso is not a party to that suit. Why did they also tender documents showing that they were shortchanged with as much as 10,000 or 19,000 votes in that same state? So you see that they are just playing ten-tail with this whole thing, playing hide and seek. That is what they're just trying to do, because Peter Obi and the Labour Party are not the ones that won the same Kano state. Kwankwaso is not in the suit. So why bring up that? So you will see that they are trying to look for, like I would always say, and I always stick by, they are only drowning men who are only looking for straws to clutch onto.
all right, thank you. You see, there's something, when they were saying something about certificates of authentication, in compliance with the Evidence Act, according to them, that the documents that LP presented, that it's not in line, that there was no certificate of authentication in compliance with the evidence. What exactly are they trying to say there? Because I mean, these documents were obtained from INEC. So what other certificates of authentication are they asking for?
Okay. I wish I had my Evidence Act handy. I'm supposed to have it here, but this phone I'm using now, I don't think the Evidence Act is on it
I have it
to
covered.
make
Actually, just
direct
open
reference. So there's a particular section that provides for documentary evidence and the means of obtaining and tendering documentary evidence in the court. Now, well, meaning I know you are a very smart and intelligent person. You may know how to navigate the sections, but if I had it handy by myself, it would be easy for me to navigate it and get that section. Now, where you need to obtain some documents, those documents, the person, the officer that is issuing them, his name needs to be there, signature. There are some things that are there. But these are public documents for which they duly paid for the documents as provided by law. Remember that they tendered the receipts showing the payments which they made for these documents. They also have certification. These were certified true copies, stamps, dates, and signature of INEC, where it was obtained from, were duly put on this document. Except they are not referencing these documents obtained from INEC. But those particular claims are already claims that are only fit for the sewage water to flow through the underground channel into wherever. Thank you.
All right. 1 minute. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I quickly wanted to say something in addition to what UC Maxwell said. So I think, Nello, one of the places I think you are making reference to is, you're making reference to the document that talked about objection, right? So if you notice on the document that talks about objection, and I think I said it yesterday, that there are two major type of objection. They had objections where they were saying, oh, this state was not stated in Peter Obi's petition, so he didn't say he was going to contend it. So if you see, for example, let me put this now. So for example, my lord, the above documents are blah, blah, blah from Word. We know that the tenor of the petition have not agitated any complaint in relation to the affirmation. Therefore, it's a complete release. So they're saying he didn't complain about it in the petition. So why is he bringing it up? But remember that Peter Obi in his petition said and other states. Now, to the particular one you are making reference to, one reason for the objection. So this was a reason for objection to admissibility of Exhibit PB. I won't say that. Under it, which is 3.3, you can see my screen, you see what I'm showing you. It said the above documents are IREV reports from INEC for Adamawa State, downloaded and certified by the first respondent, who is INEC, right? They didn't talk about this in relation to Peter Obi not bringing it up in his petition, because Peter Obi mentioned Adamawa State in his petition. So in this case, they decided to find another reason to object to it. And they said, we object to the admissibility of the said document on the ground that no certificate of authentication in compliance with Section 84(2) of the Evidence Act was produced by the point of tendering. Now, the question is, what's in the Evidence Act, Section 84(2), right? They made reference to Evidence Act, and the most recent Evidence Act is, 2011. So there is Section 84(2). And Section 84 really talks about documents that are produced by computers, right? So 84(2) said, the condition referred in this subsection of that the document containing the statement was produced by a computer during a period over which the computer was used regularly to store. So basically, this part of this subsection, because it's long, I won't want to go by it because we don't have time, was really just talking about some things that the computer should meet, right? In this subsection, I can't read the whole Evidence Act, right? I just went to 84(2) that I made reference to. I don't see any part of this 84(2) that said to make sure this is complied with, any evidence tendered should be tendered with a certificate. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know whether that's how it's supposed to be. That if you are tendering a document from computer, you should tender it with a certificate. But this Section 84(2) didn't say that. And even if that's a requirement, that is not really, the person that produced those documents is INEC, right? So whatever is supposed to come with it is supposed to be from INEC. And if you remember, when they were
sorry, well meaning. Exhibit PB what that you mentioned where they raised this argument, what were the documents they were objecting to?
I read report from INEC for Adamawa State.
Okay, IREV reports
Yes.
for Adamawa State. And I think Adamawa State was one of the documents that was tendered by our cyber security expert. So I don't think those documents were, I don't know, I'm not certain. But one thing that I must say,
let me read the document.
You said?
This is IREV report from INEC, not one from this is INEC for Adamawa State, downloaded and certified by INEC. So I think they made reference to Section 84 because Section 84 on the evidence Act makes reference to documents that are produced from a computer, right? So because it is downloaded and all that, so I want to believe that's why they make reference to it. But like I'm saying, that part of the Evidence Act didn't explicitly say you need to produce a certificate to show that this is complied with, first of all. And I'm saying INEC were the ones, and these are conversations we'll have in details in the coming days anyways, but that's really just what it is, Nelly.
All right. Because of time, I'm trying to see if there's any question. I think people want to know how they can call in. Ngozi, please, can you share the link for people to call in with, so that we can have this we can have people call in just in case they have their questions. Guys, Ngozi's going to
Sorry.
drop the link in the
I
chat.
dropped the link already on the chat. So if you click on the link by 1 Million Man March Crew
Okay,
and the handle, and then you'll be able to join into like another space, and then will connect you to this meeting, but you won't be able to join immediately because we don't want it to be crowded. Thank you.
Okay. Has anyone called already? Because I think Benedict is asking how someone can call.
Not yet.
All right.
No.
Okay. In the meantime, another thing that I also noticed in that petition was that they kept trying to say that something about substantial evidence, that LP's the evidence that LP has brought or has brought forward is not substantial enough, because I remember they went to they said that for an election to be cancelled, the evidence of non-compliance must be substantial enough. So what do you guys have to say towards this argument of theirs? You see?
Now, before I go to substantiality, can you hear me, please? I
Yes,
would
we
like
can hear you.
to make a little emphasis on the last part of what we discussed. Now, what
Right.
their objections there were actually saying is that for you to be able to tender a document that is electronically or computerly generated document, a document that is generated from computer, you have to show and satisfy the conditions provided under subsection 2. That is that the document containing the statement was produced by a computer, the computer is usually used, and all of those things. But one thing we must note is that these documents are also public records issued by a public entity, which is INEC. So this certification, these conditions that they want them to meet, I don't know, they were brought on subpoena. So these their arguments, I don't really know the angle to speak from. Because if you see the computer generated evidence that we tender through our witness, if you go through his witness statement on oath, he certified in that witness statement on oath that these documents were generated. It's just like lifting the entirety of that condition that is listed in the Evidence Act and dumping it on your witness statement on oath. So that is what they did. But for this one, this is the objection. I don't know the angle to come at it. But coming back to your question of substantiality, the provision of the law is that an election shall not be cancelled except you can prove that that the corrupt practice or non-compliance was substantial enough to affect the election. So in law, by this implication, it means that a court shall not, cancel an election, upturn an election on the basis of non-compliance, except that non-compliance is deemed to be substantial. So the question is, what would be the definition of substantial in this regard? It is for the court to look at the law, the definition of substantial, look at the degree of non-compliance in this case, and check if that non-compliance was substantial enough. So when we talk about substantiality now, for instance, if you have 100% 100% bar to fill, and you cannot fill up to 20% bar, that is substantial enough. So as much as
You see,
80% of the election,
can I ask you
yes.
a direct opinion? I don't know if it's something. I mean, looking at the election in general, I mean, you took part in it. You saw how it went down. Looking at the complaints of, both LP and PDP, would you say that, the non-compliance in this election, would you say that is substantial? And I mean, and also
Sorry, I'm
giving
not supposed to do
backings
this
here.
because this is a lawyer, so I don't know if you want to answer that.
Okay, then. Okay, well, meaning then. But you see, is this something that you're able to do? I mean, is there a way that you can do it? But if you're not comfortable
I
with
can talk
it,
about I can talk about it. I can give you a discussion.
all
Well,
right.
meaning, thank you for coming to my aid. I appreciate. Now,
Mm,
to know whether something is substantial enough, let us look at the entire process. One of the arguments that have been posited by the respondents is that the upload does not form part of the transaction of elections. So the failure to upload should not be deemed as being substantial enough. But let us check it. If indeed the upload is part of the process of election, going by the provision of the law, of course. When you look at the provisions of section 60, you look at the provisions of section 64, you look at the provisions of clause 38 of the regulations and guidelines, you look at the
you
provisions of
see,
clause
you see,
48.
please. Well, meaning, I don't know if you can, as you say, is giving this thing. Can you pull it up on the screen? I think that would be nice. Go ahead. You see. Sorry.
Yeah, he can make efforts to put that while I continue speaking. So he can just open the regulations and guidelines on one side and we can always interchange between it. So when you look at it, you would see that an election, an election at the polling unit level cannot be said to be concluded if an upload is not done. The reason is that by the guidelines given, after accreditation, voting, after voting, sorting, after sorting, counting, after counting, announcement, after announcement, filling the form, after filling the form, uploading the image of the form before even the officials of INEC leave the polling unit. Very, very important to note, because their argument that elections are done and concluded in the polling unit, I won't even negate that argument, because it is true that the pictures of the forms EC80s are supposed to be snapped right there at the polling unit and uploaded. You get to the point now. So before you even start heading to the World Collision Center, there must have been an upload, transfer, or transmit. The attempt to differentiate between transfer, upload, and transmit is a very clandestine move. I'll tell you the reason. We are not looking it in the actual sense of the words transfer, upload, and transmit. We are looking it in the actual sense of technological interpretation. So when you ask a person in the tech sector what it means to upload a data, or what it means to transfer a data, or what it means to transmit a data, he will tell you that they are one and the same process, they are one and the same thing. So as far as this is part of the polling unit process, it is a substantial part. And the fact that it is backed by law, very important to note that it is backed by law. So by this, you can now tell if this is substantial enough or if it is not substantial enough. So it is left for the court to determine from these
Yeah.
arguments. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of trust was placed on this election based on that particular require that particular part that says that these results would be the pictures will be taken and it will be transmitted straight to the IRF so that you can see these results in real time from the polling units. This is and this is like the reason why a lot of people thought that there was going to be an actual change beyond the accreditation itself. So you cannot come back and then say, oh, that is, that's part of it that is actually because one of the issues that people have with elections in this country is lack of transparency. So that transparency is a huge factor. It was something that they really sold to us, and we've seen it happen in other states. So we actually believed that it was going to happen. So for on that day, for these results not to be uploaded at the polling units right there in front of all the people gathered, count, everybody signs, and they are unable to upload it. As far as I'm concerned, it is very, 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 very substantial. But I mean, I guess our lawyers will have to argue that part. Guys, we have like barely 10 minutes to go because this is an hour show. We started a bit late, so I mean, we're supposed to end at 5, but we started at 4:10. So we're going to give it another 10 hours, and we are going to end the show. Concerned, it is.
So, can I quickly just add what Ms. Maxwell said?
Yes, please. Who is speaking? Lumpkins, can you mute your mic?
I think that's Jimmy. Jimmy.
It's an hour show. Oh, okay. I think the thing is playing on his laptop.
Yeah. Add to what Ms. Maxwell said. The first thing I want to point out is that this talk of substantial really affects just the first, in Peter Obi's petition affects the second ground, which deals with compliance and all that. In their own, issue for determination affects the first ground, mostly, right? That's one. Then, like Ms. Maxwell emphatically said, which is why I have currently on the screen the guidelines and these 38 that I usually make reference to. I talked about the points. Then if you go to 48, there you see it. So, like I was saying recently to some people, it's not a promise, it's law. So it's not like as if, INEC gave us something extra, like, just we want to be nice, we gave you this, but we couldn't do it. No, it's law. That's the first thing. Then quickly, the last thing I just want to say is, I want to pull out why, just to say how substantial it is or it is not, if anybody wants to think that. I want to pull out so this is the Supreme Court judgment on Adeleke, right? So look at what the Supreme Court said in their own interpretation of the Electoral Act. It said, after trying to explain what it wasn't, said rather the regulation provides for the beavers to be used to scan the completed result form EC8A and transmitted or uploaded or upload the scanned copy of the polling unit, blah, blah, blah. This is the Supreme Court judgment. Then they went further. And I really want to say this so people will know that even the Supreme Court has established.
Hold on, 1 minute. Go back to that place that you are reading. I wanted to extract something from there because it would also make reference to a recent tweet which I made. When you see it there, this is the court judgment. Is it also well-meaning so that people follow?
Yeah, this is the court judgment.
The judgment of the court. The regulations provide for the beavers to be used to scan the completed results in Form EC8A and transmit or upload. Listen, this is the wordings of the court. To transmit or upload. You see that the court did not even bring the transfer here. Or upload the scanned copy of the polling unit result to two places. Go and check that. It is a recent tweet on my wall. To two places. Number one is the collation system. Number two is the INEC result viewing portal. The beavers was supposed to send this document to these two places. Immediately it is scanned and sent. It was never a promise. It was a mandatory thing by law. So you can proceed 1 minute to where you are about going to.
I wanted to point out, and this is the Supreme Court interpreting it. So if you see where I am now on the screen, yeah. So what the Supreme Court went for that to say, it was that as their names depict, the collation system and the INEC result viewing portal are parts of the election process and play particular roles in that process. So, and are part of the process. The Supreme Court is not saying, it's something that INEC can choose not to do. The Supreme Court is saying it is part. So, if that was not done, and there's substantial proof to say because that was not done, which for me, Rivers State alone would be substantial proof. You get? So I just wanted to point out those three things.
All right. Sorry to button that way. Please, if you have any question and you're listening from the YouTube, you can call in using the link, or you can write your question on the comment, and then we'll read your question out and answer it. I think that's it. We have a new speaker here, so I think it's best we allow the speaker speak now. So you can unmute your mic and speak now. Who is Lubikin?
Lumpkins.
Lumpkins. Can you unmute your mic? You have to unmute your mic. You can see the mic signal. Can you unmute it, please? Okay, I don't know what's happening.
He dropped. Let's just move on with the conversation.
All right. We're out of time. I think we might have to. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, let me just finish reading this. That place that's well-meaning is because, except like I usually say, well-meaning, you remember that I usually say this. Except we get to a point where as a people, we critique court judgments, and the media also joins us in the business of critiquing court judgments, we'll begin to make headway. Because except we tear open and view all the large and small intestines in previous court judgments, we may not know where we need to head to as a people. If you read where is on the screen currently now, it says, as their name depicts, the collation system and the INEC result viewing portal are part of the election process and play particular roles in the process. The collation system now is made up of the centers where results are collated at various stages of the election. So there was actually an electronic collation. Follow me. So the polling unit result transmitted to the collation system provides the relevant collation officer now at the ward level the means to verify a polling unit result as the need arises for the purpose of collation. Meaning that for the purpose of collation, a collation officer needed to verify what had been uploaded to the collation system, compare and contrast as you have in section 64, subsection 4, to verify. The result transmitted to the result viewing portal is to give the public at large the opportunity to view the polling unit results on election day. Now, let me tell you this. The IREF, that is why we need our lawyers to build on the fact that they were supposed to upload to two places, not only the IREF, but the collation system. They want to argue that the IREF is not really fundamental because it was only for the people to view. But the collation system was for a collation officer to get what was uploaded, the pictorial view, and compare. If you look at the manual for the conduct of elections, when you look at it, I think it is in the foreword where they said that in that document they stated that they agreed that when results are manipulated, it's between the transfer of results from polling unit level to ward level, where you carry the original documents and taking it, then they stop on the road and manipulate. That the coming of electronic transmission, electronic transfer, electronic upload will mitigate that problem. So going into this election, it was a fundamental part of the election. It was a fundamental part of the polling unit process, which cannot be negated by any argument. And so I hold. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. We have sadly we've come to the end of today's show. We have so much to unpack. I guess we'll be doing that during the week on our spaces. This 1 hour show is just for us to quickly again, this is the maiden show. This is you can call it a test run if you like. Apologies to everyone who tried to call in today but could not make it. Honestly, I don't know what happened, but we would have to see how we can make this better. Maybe use another streaming platform because we really want the conversation to we want you guys to be able to call in and also share your thoughts and opinion on this. And subsequently, we will put out what we're going to be discussing earlier, and you guys will know about it even on the spaces so that you can come prepared. Please see today's show as a test run. All right, guys, what do you have to say? Please, one after the other, unmute your mic and speak, and then we can end the show. 1 minute, Nigeria. Since you're the first person on my screen.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe you need to call everybody so we don't meet our
Yeah, everyone.
I think for a summary, like you said, Nelo, in the coming days, in the coming days, we are going to be talking about this in depth on spaces, and those spaces are also going to be streamed. So people are also free to share the link of this, because I mean, I feel like we talked about a lot of things today that gives summary. So people are free to share the link of this live when the live is completed, to people to come and listen later. Then also in the coming days, we'll be talking about this. But one thing everybody should just know is that in this written address, there's a lot of holes. In fact, there's so much contradiction in its own self. Like you, Smarks, who have pointed out, a lot of us have. So let's just look forward to all those conversations in the coming days. Thank you, Minetta.
Anka Dede. Anka Dede, please unmute your mic. All right. Anka Dede is not ready.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. I did. Oh my God.
Go ahead. We can hear you now.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. Can you hear me?
Yes, Anka, please mute your computer because we can.
Okay.
We get
Well,
into.
I don't have to take too long. I just wanted to give an opportunity to Lump Kings to say a word.
Yeah, please mute your computer because we can.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but we're getting interference from your computer.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, it is now.
Okay. So I was just saying maybe we can give a minute to Lump Kings. He tried to join before. If he wanted to say something, it will give us a sense of how we interact with the public. But thank you all so much for joining our maiden edition.
All right. Lumpkin, are you ready now? You have to unmute your mic. Yes.
Hello. Good evening. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me opportunity to speak. I just found this by chance, so it's all very interesting. Right, it's difficult for me to articulate my thoughts on this because I think one thing that is clear about this whole thing is that the APC and APC don't really have a case. So the whole thing is just it's quite frustrating, to be honest, because the reason why we're still discussing this really is because of the sort of country that Nigeria is. This should not even be a discussion, to be honest. So sometimes I find it quite frustrating, but I like to listen because never been interested in law at all. So this election cycle has given one the opportunity to kind of become a bit vast in so many areas, areas that I never thought I'd be interested in. So somehow that's I'm broadening my my scope of knowledge. So this is one thing that at least I'm gaining from the whole thing. But it's a bit frustrating that we're dealing with absolute morons in that country, and this is my frustration really with the way things are going. So, but thank you for giving me opportunity to speak. Thank you very much. I'll just mute for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining in. How was the connecting experience? How
originally I actually thought you were on YouTube, so I was listening on YouTube, and then suddenly I saw a link for.
You mean on Twitter?
The Discord. No, I was on YouTube. I was listening on YouTube, so I saw.
Yeah, we are on YouTube, but for you to join the live to have a conversation, you have to go through.
I'm on Discord. I went through the Discord server, so I'm actually on your Discord server at the moment. So
all right.
I joined. I don't know who put a link to the Discord server. So I'm actually talking to
Mr.
you now.
Lobby,
I'm
just to
speaking.
clarify, let me quickly clarify.
Okay.
Now, we put out, we had to stream live on YouTube so that for people who want to follow up on the conversations, who may be busy and may not be ready to, join live here on the conversation. But the discourse link would actually make it available to people who may want to join the conversation live, because one of the reasons for this is to have a more better feel. Going forward, you may get to see all of us in our videos and our usual faces and all of it, would have better conversations and all. So it is taking a leap away from Twitter space. I saw a comment on on the YouTube where a person says he prefers Twitter, but these are just ways for us to diversify and have wider reach of people who would also like to join our conversations.
Yeah. So I'm actually connecting. I'm speaking to you now over Discord. I'm on Discord server at the moment. So I'm not even talking on Twitter. I'm talking on Discord server. That's where I'm speaking from. I'm not connected through Twitter at all. I'm actually connecting to you right now on the Discord server.
All right. And also, I think another advantage of this is that we're able to share screens. And as we go on subsequently, we're going to prepare whatever you want to share. I actually enjoyed, as well, meaning is speaking, he's sharing the portion of where he's reading out from, and we can all follow that conversation. I think that's again one of the advantage. But then again, it's just like you said, diversifying this conversation, not just keeping it on one spot, going from Twitter to YouTube. Okay, guys, we need to go now. So Ngozi, in 30 seconds or 1 minute, please share your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks for the very productive and interesting conversation. Hopefully next time it will be a lot better, and we'll have more people speaking and calling in. So please, if you're on YouTube, you can download the Discourse server app, and then you'll be able to join in when we send the link. Thank you so much, and do have a wonderful rest of the evening.
All right, thanks.
Very quickly, let me make this announcement. Sorry, I also saw a comment there. The Nurse Watch space won't be holding today. We apologize. We actually had intentions to host it. That's why we didn't give prior notice, but due to one unforeseen circumstance, we had to skip for today. So until next Sunday, that is when the Nurse Watch space will hold. Thank you.
That's so sad.
You need to send 8K check to all the people that have been looking forward to it.
Kandake.
Yeah, at least that's actually necessary, because 8K from Buhari, 8K from us. I mean, from Tinubu, that would be at least 16K to take them for some time.
Guys, we need to run. Guys, please, enough of the banter. Let's go.
Let me say something.
Well,
all right.
Mike, we're coming to you. You will say you have something to say. Kandake, please go.
Very quickly, everyone, thank you for coming, and we hope that you continue to join us as we discuss events as they unfold. And I'd like to say persistence and being consistent pays. So we continue to push, be persistent and consistent. Have a good evening.
All right. Lamine.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. I will say that just in 1 minute, I'll say that it is important that we diversify our means of passing information across to people, and people outside of Nigeria need to know why we're doing this. That's why we're on YouTube. That's why we're on Facebook and Twitter. So please bear with us. We'll be here every Sunday to talk about what's going on around the politics of Nigeria and about our mandate. So please bear with us. We'll be on Twitter on Monday, but we'll be here every Sunday. Thank you. And have a good evening.
All right. Mr. Tony.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this show today. It's our maiden edition, so please pardon our baby step. definitely next week moving forward, we would have improved on a lot of things moving forward. But thank you so much. We're just unpacking and we will be having more of this conversation moving forward. Thank you for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.
All right. You see,
What
Max.
can I say? What can I say? It's always a beautiful moment with people who are ready to, listen to productive conversations, join productive conversation, and also give productive conversations. Like I told you, we won't stop doing this. Thank you for all the motivations that we get from you guys. We'll try to continue bringing all these things to you because at the end of the day, we want to make Nigeria great and better. Good evening from UC Maxwell.
All right. Magnific dude. Over to you.
Thank you, Nello. I wanna give a big shout out to the obedient crew. All obedient. I really appreciate you guys, man. Thank you all. Thank you so very much for following us, for coming with us wherever we're going. We just can't stop disseminating information, vital information, sincere information, genuine information, about what is going on in Nigeria politically. I mean, we want to make sure you guys understand it, know your rights, and be ready to go head on with this so-called evil establishment. So I thank you guys for giving us the audience. Like I would say on Twitter, I would say it here. There won't be no show without you guys. Thank you all. And to the 1 million man crew, I would say you guys are the bomb. I can't be so proud of you guys. Let me put it that way. I mean, we're just gonna keep moving and we're gonna keep, breaking more bounds. Thank you all. I I love you guys. I would go to battle with you guys any day, anytime. Angie, no mute button. Your voice is a little bit low today, which is good because when you're hyper, then there is trouble. But good trouble though. Anyways, Nello, awesome
I'm
job.
sorry, Mag, you're muted. And please, could you unmute your mic?
Thank
Imaginary
you.
mute.
Thank you for muting me. Don't forget, I will also connect and I will host it. I will launch the space
I don't think
and
Mag is there. Mag, are you there?
Gozi.
Angel, yeah, so
God,
don't worry. I hear
please.
you. Play your play your
He
game.
said I don't
I
have the
didn't
mute
know that.
button.
Seriously, ba. Seriously, I didn't know that Ngozi was this bad. Like this bad.
Eh?
Come on, I didn't.
No,
You better
you don't
know.
threaten
She's
me. I always
horrible.
figure out
She's
I figure out
horrible.
I always figure out my
Anyway,
mute button everywhere I go to. I figure out WhatsApp now. This one. Thank you.
it's
Anyway,
There
okay.
is a mute button here. There's no mute
There
button.
is,
yes,
Is there?
there is
there is,
actually. I
of
figured
course,
it out, and I'm not teaching anyone.
there
All
is.
right,
I
Oh
know, I
God, I
know
will
how
figure
to
it
get
out
it. Don't
ourselves. Look at you.
I muted Ugozi already.
worry.
Aha.
There is. Anyways,
all right.
thank you
Who
all.
is the last person who hasn't spoken?
Can you guys still hear me?
I think we're done.
Yeah, we can hear you. We
Yes,
can hear
Maggie. I can
you.
hear
All right. So that's it from me. Thank you all. We'll do it again next weekend. And as time goes on, we probably could improve on the hours. So guys, y'all stay tuned and let's keep fighting for a just cause. We want our mandate back and we will get it back. God bless you all. And I'm out for now.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to UC Maxwell and Well Meaning for the conversation. I really enjoyed, you guys pulling out their delicate case. I think this is something that we really need to go into very much, in the coming week. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for Ngozi. Back to you so you can end it.
All right. Thanks again for joining. See you next week at 4 p.m. Niger time.
Oh, by the
Um,
way, Lumpkins, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thanks for calling in. Please, for people that would like to join next week and call in next week, please just download the Discuss app now. It's a lot easier to join in using that. Thank you so much. Sorry?
Discord.
Discord, sorry.
Discord. I'll figure out how to mute Ngozi. I just saw it. So get ready. Next week.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you on Sunday at 4 p.m. You don't want to come late. Thank you and bye. Do have a wonderful rest of the evening.